This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right, this one, it requires me to sit down. I like to stand because, standing is good, just keeps you active because, sedentary is death, but standing is life. I'm going to say that again. Sedentary is death, but standing is life. But anyways, on to the video. Felt I had to sit down because this video requires you to be up close and personal. So hear me and hear me well. You can offend someone even without realizing that you're offending them. I'm going to say that again. You can offend someone even though you may not realize that you're offending them. How can that happen? See, I've even fallen victim to this. We all have this thing in our mind where we like to do this. We like to run our mouths. I used to fall victim of this stuff a lot in my late teens, my early 20s. Heck, even sometimes from time to time, I even fall victim to that. And we don't do enough active listening, enough reflective listening. You have to understand how active listening and reflective listening plays a big key in us hearing and understanding someone. Because it's one thing to hear what one person is saying, but it's also imperative to understand what they're saying. Because there are key moments where the person is dropping jewels, or there are key moments when they're telling you something that's very important. That's when you gotta get the earwax out of your ears and listen clearly. And whatever they say at that point, it needs to be etched in your brain. This is what separates those who are really paying attention versus those who aren't. Listening is an art. I'm going to say that again. Listening is an art. And it's an art everyone is not built to have. The problem with a lot of folks is they like to run their mouths too much. Because when you're running your mouth too much, you miss out on the key moments and the key situations. I'm going to say that again. When you run your mouth too much, you miss out on the key moments and the key situations. Listening requires patience. It requires poise. And there's wisdom in listening. Wisdom and listening go hand in hand, because you can't gain wisdom and knowledge without listening. When you read a book, although it's not speaking to you, in a humanoid voice, right? It's still speaking to you in a voice through what's called words. Because at that time, you're listening with your ears and you're taking in whatever you're reading at that moment. And hence, the words that you're reading are speaking to you. So folks have to understand, when you meet new people and you engage in new experiences in life, and you have what I call new affiliations and new associations, it's imperative to listen to the person, especially when they tell you something that's very important, because that could either define and make the relationship, or it can break it and tear it down. A lot of times, a lot of situations, and a lot of moments in our lives and in everyone's life, a lot of stuff have gone awry because folks have not listened. That's why it's imperative to listen. Remember, active listening and reflective listening. Go do your research and do your homework on those two variations of listening. Study them. Analyze them. Critically think in the capacity of those two variations of listening. And when you grab hold and you truly understand the full weight and the magnitude of how these two forms of listening are key in a lot of affiliations, in a lot of associations, in a lot of relationships in life, it's going to make you a better person. And it's going to make you a better contributor to that affiliation, to that association, and to that relation. Here's the thing. Folks get caught up in, oh, I'm older than you, and they think age is the only form of wisdom. But let me teach you real quick. Let me preach to you real quick. Here's the thing. The Bible, and I'm not going to get too biblical here because, I've done my extensive research, but that's neither here nor there. The Bible itself tells you that the old are wise, but the young are strong. A lot of people, when they read that, they look at it in the literal sense. It means, okay, because that person is old and they've lived on this earth, they're wise because of experience. Have you met a bunch of old people? Have you talked to different forms of old people? What conclusion have you gotten to? Not everyone that's old has wisdom. Some old people are making the same mistakes over and over again. So you can't take that literally. It's the same thing for young folks. The young are wise, the young are strong, right? The old are wise and the young are strong. Have you met multiple or different forms of young people? And what conclusion have you come to? Not all of them are just wet behind the ears, don't know what they're talking about. There are quite a few of them out there that are what we like to use that term, beyond your time. But it's really not beyond your time. It's just that person has been able to separate themselves from the pack because that person has done what someone their same age group was not willing to do. It's pay attention to the details and look in the fine line and in the fine print of stuff through active listening and reflective listening. And this is how this person has learned. So their learning curve is therefore faster because they're paying attention more. So what I say all of this to say this. When you look at that biblical verse that tells you that the old are wise and the young are strong, those are two variations, two facets, and two forms of wisdom. That's what God was meaning by that. When you hear the old is wise, that's what we call an age or an experience form of wisdom. When you hear the young are strong, it's a strength-based wisdom. Nevertheless, they both are wise. If you notice, God's not a respecter of persons. So he's not sitting here saying that the old is superior to the young. That's not what that verse meant. He's basically telling you that both bring something to the table. They both bring something of value. So hence, because of the strength-based wisdom that the young provides, and because of the experience wisdom that the old provides, they thereby complement one another. Why did I say all of that? I say all of that is to say this. We as human beings have to get outside of ourselves. We get so caught up in what we're saying that we're not listening. And when you don't listen, you can offend someone without realizing that you're offending them. This is why you have to pay attention to the details, especially when someone tells you something that is very important at that moment. They're damn near demanding that they're dealing with an adult, and they expect that adult to have the patience and poise enough to take in what they're saying. And not only take in what they're saying, but to be mindful of it, be respectful of it, and therefore show them the common courtesy for it. So, again, let's get back to the drawing board. Let's recap. You can be offending someone without realizing that you're offending them. So what you want to do is you want to become an active listener, and you want to become a reflective listener. And hence, by doing these things, you not only separate yourself from the pack, but you keep these associations, you keep these affiliations, and you keep these relations intact. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.